Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another comic book review. And today's comic book review is more Doctor Who, Empire of the Wolf. So, without further ado or beating around the bush, let's get right into the comic. The 11th Doctor has finally arrived on the planet of Rose Tyler. That's just my nickname for it. But essentially, he's landed on this planet called Krim or Creel or something like that. And he is greeted by the guard who he previously met on a dusty plain in the middle of nowhere. Upon arriving on this planet, the 11th Doctor is applauded for how his TARDIS seems to just disappear and reappear. The guard explains that due to his ship being much bigger and needing to be condensed down, it has to be taken apart. So he's a little bit jealous of the TARDIS. The 11th Doctor also begins to reminisce about the fact that he really does not like statues, and he's really happy that on this planet there are no statues. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the 8th Doctor, trying to catch up to the 11th Doctor's track by not realising it, finds himself in a bit of a temporal anomaly. The 8th Doctor points out how he doesn't quite understand how a wolf has anything to do with Rose Tyler, as in his opinion she doesn't look like a wolf. She then explains that she can't quite get into it, but essentially because of paradoxes and such, she doesn't want to really give away too much about herself. Understanding this, the 8th Doctor begins to think of a question he can ask her without breaking the universe. Hence, he comes up with the idea of potentially asking her a question about her favourite ice cream. She explains her favourite ice cream, but because it's from a parallel Earth, it's very much similar to strawberries and cream, but is completely different. The pair then eventually arrive at the planet that they've been looking for, and the 8th Doctor explains that for some reason he's getting some sort of signal that indicates that she's already on the planet, however she's not. He then puts this down to temporal displacement and explains that there must be another Doctor down there too, as his signal is picking up another Time Lord life sign. Meanwhile, back down on the planet, the 11th Doctor is beginning to have a debate with this alternate version of Rose Tyler. He finds out that she has had bad dreams, and upon touching her head, he realizes that the dreams are of a life that she could have lived. Instead, it turns out that for whatever reason, when her life decided to diverge, she now lives in this universe as a brutal soldier who has now become the queen of an empire. The 11th Doctor is absolutely baffled and hurt by this. He never thought that his companion would be so bloodshed, and to find that she has a palace with a throne made out of Darlaganium even enforces even further that this is not exactly the Rose Tyler he loved and knew. Meanwhile, the 8th Doctor and Rose begin to explore down the castle. Upon walking around, they find themselves peculiarly noticing there's a lot of soldiers, to which they begin to question, why would a Rose Tyler need soldiers? And most importantly, what is it all in aid for on this planet? The 8th Doctor and the 11th Doctor then eventually end up bumping into one another after Rose Tyler walks into a room and discovers him. After finally finding a Doctor who knows exactly who she is over the moon. However, that doesn't mean the Doctor is. Bumping into himself, the pair begin to debate among themselves about what's going on in each other's lives. The 11th Doctor considers the 8th Doctor to be a kid, and the 8th Doctor begins to look at the older version of himself as a kind of remorseful person. He begins to realise that the 11th Doctor must have lost someone due to the way that he's looking down at the floor. The pair of them bicker for a while until Rose Tyler whips them back into shape, pointing out that she has a teenager back home who bickers just as much as they do, and it's not going to help anything, so they need to get to work so that she can get back home. They eventually decide to agree and now begin to come up with a plan, whilst both debating about the fact that the palace isn't quite what it seems. So, Empire of the Wolf, Volume 2. What did I think of this volume? Well, I feel like it's not as strong as the previous volume. Less Sontarans, kind of more back and forth, and kind of a base under siege sort of scenario. They've landed somewhere they don't quite know what's going on. That's brilliant, but there's not really a threat in this volume. And for that reason, I have to give it a solid 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in the next comic book review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and have an incredible night.